Information with both Goku and Vegeta received from Raditz, they realize that Frieza has gotten even stronger than before. Realize that Frieza may be stronger than they have been before. They decided both of them to go to Namek, knowing that they are the only persons who can match Frieza's power. On the way to Namek, they train together and even trying to master their transformations, knowing that the only way for them to fully access their powers is to fully master each and every transformation they have achieved up until this point. If you guys are wondering, yes, they kept their tails because they believe that if they are to keep their tails, they'll keep 100% of their potentials as Saiyans. Because remember that when they actually cut off their tails, they actually removed at least a small percentage of their true potential within the tails, allowing them to now actually have much more power than they had previously. But Goku and Vegeta would have, of course, continue to train and increase their powers. And when they arrive on Namek, both of them will know when it needs to be done. So they'll go around the planet Namek and be trying to collect the Dragon Balls before the Frieza Force, because they will arrive at least a day earlier, or at least a couple of hours. Of course, the Namekians actually seen that they're both with pure hearts, who decided to practically agree to this. But before they can do anything, Frieza would appear in his final form. Of course, Goku and Vegeta know that they must not take Frieza any lightly, so they both power up in the maximum in their base state, remembering that Frieza should not be underestimated. Both of them power up to Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, knowing that the only way for them to defeat Frieza is to battle him like this. Of course, Frieza in his final form is easily able to keep up with both of them, but Goku and Vegeta would realize that Frieza is incredibly strong. But as they continue to increase their powers, they realize that Frieza was actually starting to struggle. And Vegeta continues to push Frieza back, and Frieza would decide to power up to his golden form. But Goku and Vegeta know that their teamwork can actually be pretty great, because even with their Super Saiyan gods, they're most likely able to defeat Frieza if he has the golden form. Of course, Goku and Vegeta decide to do that exactly, both powering up to Super Saiyan gods and rushing against Frieza. With the powerful Ki Blast, they both shot at Frieza. Frieza, of course, barely is able to dodge the attacks, but is able to even tank some of the attacks, but still he is slightly injured by them. Both Goku and Vegeta continue to relentlessly attack Frieza, while Frieza dodges some of their attacks. Both Goku and Vegeta are surprised by Frieza's speed, but they are not underestimating the Emperor of the Universe. So they both continue to battle Frieza. With the battle continues to go on, Goku of course sends the telepathic message to Dende, with of course telling them to try to use to summon the Dragon Piranha so he can do their wishes. Of course, Dende decides to listen to them since he knows that they're trying to save their planet, also protected from the evil tyrant Frieza. But Goku and Vegeta, of course, will continue to battle, with their battle seemingly getting intense as they're starting to start to equalize their powers. But Goku and Vegeta realize that their power will not be enough in Super Saiyan God, so eventually they decide to power up to 100% of Super Saiyan God and starts to beat the shit out of Frieza. Frieza, of course, was taken back by him being able to overpower by two monkeys, but eventually Frieza said that he had enough, and with a powerful roar, he starts to shake the entire universe. Goku and Vegeta are shocked as he stumble back, in shock of Frieza's power as they both are stunned. It can't be. How did he... Vegeta, am I seeing this right? You have to be joking. Kakarot, how did he achieve this form? He can't actually achieve this early on. I thought that our Frieza must have been put through hell and back to achieve this form. Of course, I knew that Frieza's potential was intense, but only for him to achieve this form again for only 30 years was enough, and this form is even stronger than when he used it against us back then. It can't be. How this lizard gets so strong, yet we still falling behind. Vegeta says as Frieza finally shows his power, as he finally transforms to Black Frieza. But it was not any ordinary Black Frieza. Frieza has perfected the form to his complete mastery, making this black version of Frieza to be one of the strongest versions of his other selves. Even more powerful than Goku and Vegeta faced against their original timelines, Frieza. Goku and Vegeta realized that they must defeat Frieza at all costs. So both of them knew that they must power to their maximum, but before they can actually do anything, Frieza's gut punches them both, making them cough up blood as they both send back flying. Frieza tells them that after he's done, he will annihilate the entire planet. He does not need the Dragon Balls, because he can actually live for much longer. But of course, he would just have an heir which can inherit his power, and he would just destroy the entire planet, and maybe even destroy their families too, since he knows that Saiyans can actually reproduce really fast. Goku and Vegeta starts to get angry at this, and tell Frieza to shut up as they both power up to Super Saiyan Blue. Goku and Vegeta get in their battle stances, knowing that they must defeat Frieza at all costs. So without any hesitation, they both release their Super Saiyan Blue auras. Goku and Vegeta know that they must increase their powers to their maximum, knowing that if they don't use their full powers, they most likely will die. So the only way for them to defeat Frieza is to fully go all out. They cannot use their full powers, but they know that with the help of Dende, they were able to utilize them. They continue to battle as they battle Frieza as back as in another corner of the universe with the planet of Beerus. We've been watching the battle between the two Saiyans and Frieza. being actually surprised that Frieza was able to achieve this type of power and form. Of course, Beerus would then waking up because the intents keep being released. And eventually, when we show Beerus' entire image of the battle between both Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza, Beerus is in shock that both Saiyans can actually use God Ki, and even a much more enhanced version of it. Seemingly a form which surpasses the God Ki, but it's still there. Of course, Beerus is incredibly impressed, as Goku and Vegeta were trying to keep up with Frieza's power. Of course, Beerus could tell that Frieza's power could actually be matchable to that of 25% of a destroyer's power, which of course it was pretty impressive. And Beerus asks how long did it take Frieza to achieve this type of power. But Frieza explained that his power is actually not 25% the strength of a destroyer, but 50% because Frieza is still holding back. Of course, this surprises Beerus slightly because Frieza is still holding back against Goku and Vegeta while they're both struggling. Of course, he was still impressed by the both Saiyans being quite determined to defeat the Emperor of the Universe. Beerus eventually asked Whis about the two Saiyans' names. And eventually, Whis explained that the Saiyan with the orange gi is known as Goku, and the other one with the Saiyan attire is Vegeta. Of course, Beerus isn't shocked and even gum smack as he realizes that this is Vegeta, the son of King Vegeta. Of course, he knew that Vegeta had intense potential and he was incredibly high potential, but the other Saiyan behind him. He remembers that he was a low-class Saiyan back then. If he is so strong, then why was not actually made a high-class Saiyan? Which actually tells Beerus that because Goku only showed a glimpse of his powers when he started to grow older, meaning that Goku would have been a high-class Saiyan if he actually was shown as an adult. Which of course surprises Beerus, but he can tell that those two mortals are incredibly impressive. Beerus actually wants to test his powers against them. But Whis advises that maybe they should do it later, since it seems that both of them are pretty busy at the moment. Of course, Beerus is kind of reluctant, but he has to agree with Whis, believing that Whis' better judgment will be much more better. Eventually, they decide to continue to observe the battle. Goku and Vegeta are struggling in they were on the back foot. Even with their powers, they cannot even match Frieza's black form. Both of them realize that they must go into much higher levels of power, as both Goku and Vegeta power up to high stages. As Vegeta power up to Saiyan Blue Evolution, and Goku power up to his Blue Kaioken times 20. They knew that they cannot keep these forms for too long because their bodies cannot handle this power for a long time. They know they can only utilize it for just a short amount of time, but it may be just enough to even match Frieza's power. They grow stronger, but they can still not utilize their full powers. They believe maybe with these powers they were able to at least scratch Frieza. But even with this, it's still not enough. As uses more of his power, it is to pummel Goku and Vegeta down. Goku Vegeta cough up blood, seemingly on the back foot, as he cannot do anything. But the sky starts to darken, as Goku and Vegeta would smile slightly, realizing that Dende has done it. Frieza of course confused, but eventually Goku is able to telepathically talk to Dende, telling him to wish for their bodies strength to be increased as many times as Pro can increase it. Dende of course decides to do that, as he uses this for 2 wishes. Of course, Porunga is able to grant the first wish for increasing Goku's body's power for how much he can, and does the same with Vegeta. Of course, for a third wish, they wants Pandemic to practically be strong enough to withstand the battle. Of course, Porunga is able to grant the wish, and eventually both Goku and Vegeta's body powers are increased by at least 100 times. This is just enough for both of them to finally realize that the strain on their forms is no longer there. They can now utilize much more power than they had. Goku and Vegeta knows that they must defeat Frieza right here and now, believing that if they were to want to kill the Emperor of the Universe right here and now, they should do it right here as well. Of course, Goku and Vegeta then power up a lot more. Both then Vegeta roars as a purple aura starts to appear from his dark blue aura, while Goku's aura will start to actually glimpse slightly. With his one's white blue aura starts to actually darken slightly and became a silverish in color. Goku's aura then drops down to base, and it's just a small Goku. But as he sees Goku's power increasing, and Vegeta doing the same, Frieza will be in shock. It sees that their power is not decreasing, but instead increasing. But Goku and Vegeta release their full powers, with Goku powering up into Master Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta powering up into Ultra Ego. Both of them knowing that they must not hold back against Frieza, but just they're able to keep their power levels low, just enough so they cannot be sensed by Zeno or the Grand Priest. While back on Beerus' planet, both Whis and Beerus are in shock that not only a Saiyan, those two Saiyans were incredibly powerful, but one of them had the power of Ultra Instinct, while the other one had the power of destruction, of a destroyer. Beerus was in shock because he has never thought any mortal a power of destruction, yet this more naturally possessed it. It's incredible. Beerus thinks that maybe he should take Vegeta as his prodigy, and maybe his student, so he can try to achieve the true power of Ultra Ego, believing that with his training, maybe he would teach Goku and Vegeta how to unleash their true powers. We believes that with the help of him and Beerus, most likely Goku and Vegeta will grow stronger, but he wants to still observe the battle. Goku and Vegeta start to pound down Frieza as he will be in shock that he is starting to get overpowered. Goku and Vegeta know that they must end this battle quickly before Frieza tries to do anything. Knowing that Frieza is a cowardly bastard, he must just try to destroy the planet. So Goku and Vegeta are prepared to practically do that. Of course, Frieza tries to blow up the planet as he thought, but Vegeta is able to use a Kai to erase the blast that Frieza was trying to utilize. Of course, Frieza will be scared as he will use most of his energy into that blast, eventually dropping out of his black form. Eventually Goku kicks him away, sending him into the atmosphere as Vegeta punches him down. Both of them continue to pull Frieza down as he continues to beat the shit out of him, seemingly as Frieza was on the back foot. Frieza would yell for them to leave him alone, but of course Goku and Vegeta will tell him that this ends now. Goku and Vegeta power up probably their strongest attacks. With Goku powering up his Ultra Kamehameha and Vegeta powering up his Sakai Final Flash. With both attacks combining, they're able to annihilate Frieza, erasing him from existence. Both Vegeta and Goku knew that they should not let Frieza live, believing that if they let Frieza live or be in the afterlife, he most likely will train so much to a point he'll surpass all of them. So they believed that the best choice for them was to kill Frieza, believing that this would be a much better way, so they didn't only have to deal with the Emperor of the Universe. Of course, Goku and Vegeta would eventually go into Dende, and eventually Dende would actually explain to them that he actually only used one wish for both of them to increase their bodies, while the third wish still lasts for all of them. Of course, Vegeta ponders on what they should do with the last wish, and Goku believes that maybe Vegeta has the same idea as him, to revive all the Saiyans and even change their ways. Of course, Vegeta kind of thinks about it. It would be a good idea, yes, but it would be pretty hard to change the same ways. But of course, Goku believes that with their powers, they're most likely able to teach the Saiyans how to grow stronger and change their ways. Vegeta then decides to agree with Goku's idea, and eventually they revive all the Saiyans into Planet Vegeta. Of course, they first use the Dragon Balls on Namek so they can practically bring back Planet Vegeta, and eventually use the Dragon Balls on Earth so they can revive all the Saiyans. With this, of course, they were most likely able to do that really easily, and eventually, of course, all the Saiyans will be confused with what is happening, even Bardock himself as he returns back to Planet Vegeta. But Goku and Vegeta would then issue transmission there. They're able to unlock their full powers and techniques after their intense trainings, thanks to so much training. Of course, Goku and Vegeta would then explain the events that has happened. Of course, they're not actually telling them about how they're reborn or anything like that, but they tell them that they defeated Frieza and now the Saiyans are free. Of course, King Vegeta believes that they can now rule the universe, but Vegeta is highly against it, saying to his father that they should live peacefully. He doesn't want to deal with Beerus, nor does he want to practically cause any damage to the universe. He believes that the only way for them to actually live better is to practically save our planet and to make sure that the universe is kept safe. Of course, King Vegeta is kind of reluctant, but he has to agree with his son's proposal. Of course, Vegeta then becomes the same king because he is practically incredibly strong. Of course, Vegeta is actually not that against it, and actually believes that he deserves the title. Goku, of course, is proclaimed to be the second strongest Saiyan, but Goku and Vegeta are actually on the same level of power because they're intense trade with one another. Of course, Goku and Vegeta eventually go back to Earth and tell the other Saiyans to continue to train and increase their powers. Of course, all the Saiyans agree, as Bardock is then taken with Goku back to planet Earth, so he can train with the others. Of course, Bardock is impressed by Goku's power, and eventually Goku tells that he will teach him everything, alongside how to achieve Super Saiyan. And Bardock just smiles, as he's even surprised that Goku actually has Super Saiyan, alongside Vegeta as well, but he's actually not that shocked, because he knows that Goku and Vegeta were incredible prodigies ever since they were kids, so he's not that surprised that they're able to achieve the legendary form and even forms beyond it. Of course, Bardock decides to go with his family, meaning his wife Gine, and of course his son Raditz. Of course, Bardock does scold Raditz for trying to practically kill his brother or even intimidate him, but he's still happy that Raditz is alive. And eventually, there's a couple of years of peaceful times as Goku and Vegeta continue to live peacefully. Of course, they would have actually gone to Planet Vampa so they can recruit Broly. Of course, Joe didn't want to actually bother with Paragus, so he believes that Paragus was a nuisance, so he erased him, believing that Paragus was not needed, so he just recruited Broly, because they wanted to practically have Broly by their side, believing that with Broly they were most likely able to grow stronger and to help them with increasing their powers a lot better, and for everyone's beneficial things. But for now, this is the end for this part, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Sayonara.